You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. An ally of Bongbong Marcos claims it's statistically impossible to overtake the presidential candidate leading in the surveys. Marcos is at the top of the latest Pulse Asia survey with a 32-point lead over his closest rival, Vice President Leni Robredo. The Marcos Duterte UniTeam says this shows the message that unity has, quote, stricken a chord with Filipinos. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have Anak Kalusugan Party List Representative and Quezon City mayoral candidate Mike Defensor. Congressman Defensor, welcome back to the source. Good to have you.
Yes, Pinky, thank you so much. Good morning to everyone.
So looking at the latest Pulse Asia survey, Bongbong Marcos still the front runner in the latest Pulse Asia survey, garnering 56 percentage points compared to Vice President Leni Robredo, who got 24%. Pulse Asia says that Bongbong Marcos's decline of 4 percentage points, minus 4 percentage points, is still within the marginal error. Kasi ang marginal error daw is until or up to 5%. But VP Leni's increase of 9 percentage points is significant, according to Pulse Asia's Professor Ronnie Holmes. Are you concerned that the numbers may continue to increase for the Vice President and that of Bongbong Marcos will go down?
Actually, Pia, if you look at the data from the past elections...
This is Pinky, sir.
This is... Sorry. Pinky, sorry. If you look at the data from the past elections, this is the biggest lead in a survey conducted by April. Kasi nung kay GMA and FPJ, the lead was April 6 points. If you check yung data ng Pinoy ERAP, ERAP was the second candidate, yung front runner, no, pangalawa siya, 19 points, 39-20. Itong of recent kay President Duterte and Mar Rojas, you're looking at 11 points, 33-22. The biggest before that kay ERAP and kay JDV, which is about 22 points ng April, 38-16. Itong kay BBM, ang laki talaga at 56-24, that's 32 points. So yung sinasabi lang movement of going down, going up, wala, it's still there eh. Kahit anong sabihin natin, it's about 30 points going, 30 and up.
32.
Points. So parang sa akin, yeah, 32 as of now. Before that, it was 34 or 35 if I'm not mistaken. So para sa akin, okay, it's going up and down, but still yung gap, it's very huge eh, at 30 points.
Malaki.
The biggest ever.
Yeah. In fact, Professor Ronald Holmes was saying this is unprecedented as far as the last surveys that they've conducted, because this is actually where you have a presidential candidate who is Bongbong Marcos, who's garnering majority of the votes, meaning 50%, over 50% ang nakukuha niyang boto. Again, tinawag po nila itong unprecedented. But of course, we still have about 31 days before election day. I looked into the numbers of the vice president and I asked Professor Holmes about this. She improved, sir, in all classes, socioeconomic classes, and even all locations except in NCR, which is, I think, -1. But again, that's part of the marginal error. Ano po. But let's talk about this. She has a trajectory, pataas po siya. Again, yung kay Bongbong Marcos, -4, still within the marginal error. Ito bang trajectory na to ay a cause for concern dahil baka po tumuloy pa yung kanyang pagtaas?
You know, Pinky, I'm really sorry, no? Hindi ko naman, I have nothing against the Vice President. And ito naman, election lang. Pero at 56 or 60 points, dito sa Quezon City, si BBM is at 70, high 60s to 75. Yan yung kanyang range. Nakikita namin from the monthly surveys. Parang malayo na eh. 32 points, sobrang laki. Whatever, you know, even if she gains another 10 points, that's only 34 points. Pero yung 32 points ni BBM, napakalayo. So, Hindi naman po sa hindi pa tapos ang eleksyon, it is not absolute. But if you look at the historical precedents, yung mga nangyari noong nakaraan, talagang napakahirap po, napakalayo. I think no, in many areas magko-consolidate palalo yung BBM support. Why? Because there are many others who are for other candidates, nalilipat na sila. So ito yung makikita natin, and I'm sure kay VP Lenny may ganyan din magiging movement. But
Yeah.
syempre, mas malaki yung magiging ng frontrunner.
But if you talk about that, sir, let me pick your thoughts on this. There could be others that could go to BBM, and there could be others that can go to Vice President Leni Robredo. Are you talking about candidates right now running and possibly throwing their support, backing out and throwing their support to a particular presidential candidate? Is that what you mean, or you're just talking about voters in general?
Well, it's also voters but also political leaders. For example, Pinky in Quezon City, si Mayor Belmonte is coming out with the posters with BBM. So ako okay lang yun because it's good for our candidate. But ngayon, meron din sa mga leaders for Lenny, and I think they're consolidating. So I do not know if this would help the Vice President's campaign. So nagkakaroon ng polarization even in other areas, like in particular in Quezon City, makikita mo nag-group na yung mga BBM and nag-group na yung VP Lenny. But if you have, for example, Mayor Joy Belmonte not throwing her support for VP Lenny, who she supported in the last elections, magkakaproblema talaga si VP Lenny in Quezon City. I think people will really come out for BBM.
Is the possibility, does that come into play, the possibility of other candidates actually withdrawing and throwing their support to Vice President Leni Robredo? And if that happens, do you think that could change the ballgame?
I think it would change yes, it would change the voters in a sense na even the machineries will be defined. Magkakaroon ng clear fight between BBM and VP Lenny. But as long as you have leaders who will not come out, will be dalawa naman yung leaders, di ba? You have them throwing their support for BBM because of the bandwagon effect, and you have the liberal supporters of President Pinoy in the past who were with VP Lenny. Pero pag nagtatago sila, ayaw nila lumabas, then I'm sorry to say, no, it will not help the campaign of the Vice President.
Okay, like sino ho ba yung nagtatago at hindi naglalabas ng kanilang full support?
Well, as I mentioned, no, like in the case of Quezon City, si La Mayor Joy, that's their play. In fact, they supported VP Lenny. They were the campaign managers. Sila yung nagbigay ng office in the past. Pero ngayon, parang nakikita ko, yung leaders nila, inaano nila, no, pinapabiyaan nila na mayroong mga BBM, and there are some supporting VP Lenny and other candidates. So hindi talaga sila, they're not coming out for the Vice President.
So parang free range, bahala kung yung kanilang mga political leaders who they want to support. Basically, that's what you're saying.
Well, actually, Pinky, not even that. It's may conscious scheme sila na some of our leaders will be for BBM, some of our leaders will be for VP Lenny, meron din silang leaders for Isko. Now, if you do that, then that's a problem because you're not practicing leadership in your area. Parang masyado ka nagpupolitika, masyado ka nagbabalanse. I think as a leader, kailangan may paninindigan ka. And I mean, to be honest, kung kasama mo naman si VP Lenny dati at nakita mo naman walang ginawang mali, di ba dapat natural lang na sumama ka ulit sa kanya, tulungan mo siya. Because for me, klaro naman kami. We were together with Senator BBM, even before he declared. Kaya pag-declare niya, pag-file niya, tagal nakalinya kami with Bongbong Marcos.
But do you still stand by what you said earlier, that it is statistically impossible already for Vice President Leni Robredo to beat former Senator Bongbong Marcos? Do you stand by that?
Well, Pinky, diba, we are looking at surveys and it's a science. Pero hindi naman absolute eh. And I've said in the past, it's not absolute. But if you're looking at the results in the past, statistically, talagang ang hirap habulin ni BBM given the 32 points lead. The biggest lead, pinakamalaki ng lead noon si President Erap at 22 points. And si BBM, as you have said, super majority na, hindi lang plurality, kundi lumalagpas na siya dun sa 50%.
Yeah, that's of course the interview with Professor Ronald Holmes saying unprecedented nga itong numbers na nakikita nila kay former Senator Bongbong Marcos. Congressman, we need to take a very short break. We will be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. I'm Pinky Webb. Our guest today, Quezon City mayoral candidate, Congressman Mike Defensor. Sir, just one more question about the survey. Looking at that survey, at sabi mo nga, it is statistically impossible. Basing it on past surveys, that's the qualification you were making. Para ho ba sa inyo, sure win na si Bongbong Marcos?
Yes, yes, Pinky. For me, based on what I'm seeing now, yeah, you can already say that it's a victory for Bongbong Marcos. And even if they look at the other numbers, talagang malinaw na malinaw yung laki ng numero ni BBM. And I hope that well, of course, sabi ko nga, it's still a campaign, it's not absolute. Ayusin lang natin kami lahat, no, lahat ng kandidato, to make sure that we have a clean, peaceful, and honest elections. For BBM, I think kahit sa ngayon, he's already calling for unity, and I think he should continue with that. Lalo tigit kung ganito na yung numero niya, importante na ma-unify niya ang taong bayan.
Okay, and very quickly, si Vice Presidential candidate Sara Duterte ay sigurado na ring panalo po para sa inyo based on the latest surveys.
Again, based on the numbers and based on the past precedents, yes, Inday Sara Duterte, yung lead niya, I think now is at, again, somewhere between the 20 points vicinity. And ganun din.
36
yung
ata,
nakita
sir.
din natin.
36%.
Sorry?
36% po
Yeah.
ata ang kanyang lead over Senate President Tito Soto.
Yes, yun nga, and ganun din. Even in Quezon City, ganun yung nakikita naming numero. And I think napakalayo na nung score ni Mayor Inday Sara Duterte.
Okay. Pag-usapan po natin yung inyong takbo for mayor. I was looking at the latest issues here. Meron pong publico survey showing Mayor Joy Belmonte leading with 40% and you at 24%. Acceptable po ba sa inyo to?
Well, Pinky, kasi tinanong ko na yung publicos before. Yung survey na yan na ginawa nila was conducted by their Singaporean partner. In fact, kung titingnan mo yung results na yan, ang sinabi nila dyan, we are statistically tied. That's the exact
How so?
statement of publicos. Yeah, statistically tied because ang samples lang nila dyan for Quezon City, 100, 100. So, that's different, no? Iba naman yung I hope and dapat talaga in terms of the population ng Quezon City, gaano kalaki, yung representation ng every district, ano ba yung voting population nila, plus the methodology, kasi yung methodology na ginamit dyan is an online survey. So, if you look at that report, Pinky, that ang sinabi nila dyan, statistically tied. I have the statement with me.
Yeah, sir, can you just briefly explain that was because 40 to 24 is a 16% gap. From all the interviews I've made, it may marginal error, let's say plus minus 3. Pwede pang umabot yun ng 5%. But how is this statistically tied when there's a 16% gap?
Because I think the plus margin error there is about 10 to 15%. So pagka pinlas
that's
minus
high.
mo yan, yeah, kasi 100 lang yan, Pinky eh. Ang ginamit lang samples is 100. So yun nga yung sinasabi ko na kung pwede, when I called the publicos at that time, Dr. Sinsuwat, when he explained to me, sabi ko nga, parang ang hirap naman yan. If it's just 100, and in fact, hindi naman sila directly yung gumawa niyan, but a partner in Singapore, parang ang hirap na maging batayan.
Opo. Congressman, as a last question, how confident are you? Are you confident, rather, that you will win the mayoralty post? Ano
Ako,
po ba?
Pinky,
Will it be a tight race?
Ako ang paniwala ko, yung performance sa pandemic, we ended up number 1, pinakamaraming namatay sa Quezon City. Yung slowness ng response, I think, will be a big help in the voters' decision in the coming elections.
And so, do you think you will win? Do you think it will be a tight race?
Well, I'm looking at we have our own survey and it's there. Kailangan lang magtrabaho talaga. Ito parating yung mensahe sa mga taga Quezon City, yung gusto naming na pagbabago, yung gusto namin na pag-aayos ng Quezon City. Huling-huli na kami. Talo na kami ng Makati, Pasig, ng Taguig, Manila. Kawawa naman kami. Kami pinakamayaman and yet pinakakawawa yung nangyaring development sa Quezon City.
Congressman and Quezon City mayoral candidate Mike Defensor, sir, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Pinky. Good morning.
Thank you. And CNN Philippines will also be reaching out to Quezon City Mayor Joy Belmonte to get her side on this particular issue. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.